Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Why Cowboys' Micah Parsons could be enticed to play for Steelers one day. The future contract status of elite pass rushers will ideally never become a genuine concern among a fan base, especially if a sizable chunk of the team's ceiling is tied to the player in question. It is undoubtedly one of the most important positions in the NFL, usually forcing owners to acquiesce to lofty demands. But the Dallas Cowboys have more to worry about than just Micah Parsons. The multi-time first-team All-Pro skipped organized team activities, OTAs, in his pursuit of a massive contract extension. Even though he showed up for mandatory minicamp, the franchise and fans could still find themselves in an uncomfortable situation they were hoping would never come to pass. With quarterback Dak Prescott and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb also both seeking new deals, there is the risk Parsons is deprioritized. Nevertheless, the 25-year-old reportedly has no interest in playing for another team, at least not for a long time. His heart currently resides in Dallas, but his Pennsylvania roots do open the possibility of a return out east at some point. There is even a squad in the Keystone State being floated as a potential destination. Though, it might not be the one most fans think. Parsons has no interest in playing anywhere but with the Cowboys, Clarence Hill Jr. posted on X. He said it's important for his legacy and doesn't want to bounce around. But if he hypothetically did go home later in his career, it would be to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the Philadelphia Eagles, partly because of Mike Tomlin. Pittsburgh is often paradise for a top-tier defensive talent, with the team's identity firmly predicated on suffocating opposing offenses. The philosophy has resulted in more playoff berths than expected, while also allowing Tomlin to avoid a losing season in his head coaching career. Parsons could achieve mammoth success with the Steelers. There are a few possible roadblocks to such a union, however, particularly if he wishes to stay with the Cowboys for several more years. Tomlin's job security faced some uncertainty last season, so there is no telling how many years he has left in Pittsburgh. Considering the Super Bowl 43 champion has been at the helm since 2007, he might crave a new football environment. If that is the case, then Micah Parsons might miss his chance to play for Mike Tomlin in his home state. The Steelers also have T.J. Watt lining up on the edge, whom the Cowboys star notably left out of his list of top 5 pass rushers in the league. It might not be practical for either Parsons or Pittsburgh to come together at all, even in the twilight of the Penn State product's career. Of course, the probability could soon change if contract talks between Parsons and the Cowboys continue to drag. He is clearly focused on inking a new deal in the near future. If Dallas feels differently, then the 3-time Pro Bowler might take off the love goggles and chase other options. Lingering tension is the best pathway for a Pennsylvania return, but it is just a fantasy for now. One that Steelers fans will store in the back of their minds until the time comes to revisit it. CeeDee Lamb boycotting Cowboys minicamp in contract dispute, subject to $100,000 fine. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is officially holding out for a new contract. Lamb, who has not participated in the voluntary off-season program, has continued his boycott with the team's mandatory minicamp this week. Lamb is subject to $100,000 in fines if he misses all 3 days of the minicamp, which began Tuesday and runs through Thursday. Fines for skipping the off-season program can be waived. That is not the case if Lamb's holdout continues into training camp. The Cowboys are scheduled to report on July 23. A no-show will cost him $40,000 per day in mandatory fines. Lamb is signed under the 5th-year option of his rookie deal and a salary of $17.9 million in 2024. But following a 2023 season when Lamb led the NFL with 135 catches and set a franchise record with 1,735 yards, Lamb was never showing up without a new deal. The 4-year, $140 million extension signed by Minnesota's Justin Jefferson on Monday has provided a blueprint for a potential Lamb deal. Jefferson and Lamb were both first-round picks in 2020 and almost identical statistics. Jefferson has 392 receptions for 5,899 yards and 30 touchdowns. Lamb has 395 catches for 5,145 yards and 32 touchdowns. Both players have been named to the Pro Bowl 3 times and have been named first-team All-Pro once. It certainly should jumpstart negotiations, which have been minimal at best thus far. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy said he has been in touch with Lamb and knows he has been working. With the Cowboys running the same offense as last season, Lamb is not missing anything and won't be behind when he does show up. He's in a business situation, McCarthy said. I have no qualms as far as our vets being ready. They've been engaged, and we'll be in a great spot. Cowboys star Micah Parsons sends two-word message on contract situation. A massive payday is in Micah Parsons' future, but the Dallas Cowboys star is not sweating when it happens. Parsons is extension eligible, but talks haven't moved much this offseason. The 3-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro has already established himself as one of the most impactful defenders in the league. Parsons is in a prime position to cash in but is simply waiting for his turn. One day, Parsons said during mandatory minicamp on Tuesday, June 4. He continued, "Time will tell. I can't really put a timetable on mine. All I gotta do is keep getting sacks and that stuff will handle itself." Parsons has had no problem piling up sacks and highlight plays. And with the market rising yearly, it's not necessarily bad for him to wait it out. Parsons has notched 40.5 sacks in 3 years. There's no rush for the Cowboys to get an extension done. Parsons is under contract through the 2025 season. Dallas picked up his 5th-year option this offseason. It is slated to cost $21.324 million. The team designated him as a defensive end rather than a linebacker, which saved the Cowboys around $3 million. Parsons did not attend OTAs earlier this offseason but was in attendance for mandatory minicamp. The powerful pass rusher cited former Defensive Player of the Year Aaron Donald when explaining his absence from the voluntary workouts. "Yeah, I think the more years you have, the more you understand that there's also like the business side to it," Parsons said, via NFL Network's Jane Slater. And I think that's what camp is for. I mean, there was a time where Aaron Donald didn't even go to camp and he won Defensive Player of the Year and then went to the playoffs. Are we forgetting these times? We wasn't talking about the best defensive player wasn't even in camp. And we're in mini camps. Voluntary at that. So mini camp was something that is mandatory. So, I'm just looking at it as a time for my body to heal. I'm playing as an undersized rusher who is banged up every year. So I'm just letting my body heal. I'm just trying to grow, strengthen, and really just get ready for the year. The Cowboys are easing into a new scheme with defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer taking over. Zimmer replaces Dan Quinn, now the Washington Commanders head coach. While Parsons is content with his contract situation, he advocated for star receiver CeeDee Lamb to get paid. Lamb is not in attendance for mandatory minicamp. CeeDee is about to hit the Brinks truck, Parsons said. He is about to get his. I can't think of someone more deserving. I think CeeDee is the best receiver in the league if you ever want to argue the top 3. In my eyes, seeing his mindset and how he comes in every day. I think he deserves every penny. So I'm going to be super excited for him for whatever his contract lays out, but it's going to be a nice contract for sure. Lamb set team records for catches, 135, and yards, 1,749, last season. Minnesota Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson recently reset the market with a 4-year, $140 million contract extension. Parsons believes a deal with Lamb should surpass that. If I'm his agent, CD is getting about $36 million on an average per year salary, Parsons said. But, I'm not his agent. Numbers aside, I don't know, obviously, what goes with the combative arguments on who versus who and whatever it may be. I think you could argue CD is better than Jefferson, however you want to put it. But CD should be right there with him. The Cowboys also have a decision to make on quarterback Dak Prescott. He's heading into his final year under contract in Dallas. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Micah Parsons? Leave your opinion in the comments.